You ever catch yourself talking to the microwave like it's judging your life choices? Or maybe you've scolded your couch for eating the remote. Again? Yeah, me too. Living alone in old age does something to a person, but not in a bad way. In a weirdly brilliant way. You start doing things you never imagined, like giving your vacuum a name, or forming a deep emotional bond with a chair that creaks every time you sit down, and yet somehow still feels like home. In this video, we're diving into the wonderfully odd, sometimes hilarious, and surprisingly heartwarming things living alone makes us do in our later years. If you've ever looked around your house and thought, is it just me, or is the toaster giving me attitude today? This one's for you. Stick around, because trust me, you're not alone in being alone. Number 1. Creating weird house rules and actually following them. Now, here's where things start to get really strange and strangely satisfying. When you live alone, you become the mayor, sheriff, and city council of your own tiny nation. And what does every great leader do? Set rules, not normal rules, not don't leave the stove on kind of rules. I'm talking about those wonderfully odd, completely unnecessary rules that you invent one day for no reason, and then follow religiously, like they're written in stone. For example, I have a no TV before 10 a.m. policy, not because it messes with my productivity. Nope. Because I once watched a crime documentary at 8 in the morning and it ruined my toast. Ever since, I declared mornings as peaceful programming only. It's either birdsong or jazz. Anything else? Denied. My friend George, 74, lives solo in Florida, has this hilarious rule that no snack can be eaten standing up. I work too hard in life to eat crackers like I'm rushing somewhere, he says. You sit down, you savor it, you show it respect. George has a designated snack chair, and don't you dare use it for anything else. There's also the one light on per room rule. I do this not for saving energy, though sure, that's a bonus, but because it makes the house feel like a movie scene. The lamp in the reading corner. That's the evening reflection zone. The hallway light. Only for dramatic pacing when I'm walking to the kitchen like I'm about to reveal a plot twist. Oh, and don't get me started on Mug Monday. Every Monday, I use my lucky blue mug. Even if it's chipped, especially if it's chipped. It's tradition. I made it up last year and haven't missed a Monday since. You'd think living alone you'd loosen up and just go with the flow. But no, many of us go the opposite route. We build these tiny routines and rituals and they become our anchors. They're silly, yes. They're personal, absolutely. But they're also soothing. Like a private agreement between you and your environment. I run this ship, and here's how we sail. One woman on an online forum said she created a no dish left behind rule. If she uses it, she washes it immediately. It makes me feel like I'm running a 5-star restaurant where I'm the chef, the customer, and the cleaning staff. She laughed. That's the beauty of it. These rules don't have to make sense to anyone else. They bring order, joy, and a little bit of whimsy to the everyday. And when you stick to them, you feel oddly proud, like you're honoring something sacred, even if it's just your weird little habit of always sitting on the left side of the couch. 2. Overthinking the sounds of the house. Like a retired detective. You know what no one prepares you for when you start living alone in old age? The sheer variety of sounds your house makes when there's no one else around to take the blame. Back when the house was full, with kids, a spouse, grandkids running around, you never noticed the creaks and groans. They were buried under footsteps, conversations, TVs blaring, and pots clanging. But now it's just you. And them. The mysterious thuds, the floorboard whispers, the late-night hums that make you freeze mid-step like a hound who just caught a scent. I had a moment not long ago. It was around 11 p.m. House was quiet, lights dim, the kind of peaceful silence you usually enjoy right before bed. Then, tap, tap, tap. I paused. Tap, tap. There it was again. I stood still, half holding my toothbrush like a weapon. My mind immediately raced. Someone's in the attic. It's a raccoon. No, it's worse. It's two raccoons working together. Maybe one's the lookout. 5 minutes later, I'm slowly creeping through the house, barefoot, whispering to myself like some retired detective on his one last case. "All right, Carl," I muttered. "Let's figure this out. Front door locked. Windows secured." But that tap sounded personal. Turns out it was the neighbor's tree branch brushing the side of my house in the wind. But for those brief, intense moments, I was on the case. I even found myself reaching for a flashlight I hadn't used in years, like I was about to uncover a hidden door or secret passage. Other seniors online have shared the same thing. One man said he spent an entire night trying to catch what he thought was a burglar, only to discover it was his ice maker. He now refers to it as the phantom. You start to analyze each sound like it's trying to tell you something. The refrigerator kicking on? Suspicious. The floor creaking in the hallway? Possibly a spirit. Or more likely just your own footsteps from 5 minutes ago echoing in your memory. But strangely, there's a comfort in it. Like your house is talking to you. You become attuned to it, hyper-aware. And honestly, a little part of you enjoys the detective work, because in the quiet of living alone, even a squeaky door hinge feels like a clue. And you, the Lone Ranger in pajamas and slippers, are always ready to solve the mystery. 3. Inventing elaborate theories about the neighbors. Now let's talk about the neighbors. Because let's face it, when you live alone, the folks next door suddenly become fascinating, especially the quiet ones. Especially the ones who leave their house at weird hours or never take their trash out on the same day as everyone else. I've developed backstories for nearly everyone on my street. The lady across from me wears the same red scarf every Tuesday. I'm convinced she used to be a jazz singer. Maybe even had a brief romance with a French diplomat. Now she lives alone, plays piano at night, or so I imagine, and occasionally stares out her window like she's remembering her glory days in Paris. There's a guy 2 doors down, quiet as a church mouse. But get this, he's got 3 satellite dishes. 3! I don't even have one. I've convinced myself he's monitoring space signals. He's not just watching reruns of Matlock, he's decoding transmissions from Mars. Probably works for NASA. Or maybe he is from NASA. Or Mars. And don't get me started on the neighbor who walks her cat on a leash at 6 a.m. sharp every morning. Rain or shine. That cat never looks happy. I've made up an entire narrative where the cat's the boss, and she's just following orders. You see, when you've got time and quiet on your side, the imagination starts filling in the blanks. A package left too long on a porch becomes evidence in a secret spy drop. A light left on all night, clearly a signal to someone, somewhere. A new car parked out front? Ah yes, probably the nephew from New York, the one who's definitely in witness protection. One woman said she was convinced her neighbor was building a secret bunker. Why? Because he was buying too many cans of beans in bulk and had an unusually large shed. Another man said he thought his neighbor was running a secret speakeasy in his garage. "He's always smiling," he said. "That's not normal. He knows something." But the truth is, these little stories we make up, they keep things interesting. They give a bit of color to the mundane. It's not gossip, it's storytelling. We're not nosy. We're curious observers with time to wonder and a need to imagine. Living alone doesn't mean shutting off the outside world. It just means we start interpreting it in more colorful ways. And sometimes those imaginary plots and secret identities we give our neighbors, they're more entertaining than anything on TV. Besides, if we ever run out of things to talk about with ourselves, we've got a whole cast of mystery characters living right outside our window. 4. Talking to yourself like you're a cast member in a sitcom. Something funny happens when you've lived alone long enough. Your thoughts stop staying in your head. They start coming out loud. And not just in a mumble either. We're talking full-blown dialogue, delivered like you're the star of a primetime sitcom. I caught myself the other day walking into the kitchen saying, "All right, let's see what disaster we're cooking today," like I was hosting my own cooking show. No cameras, no guests, just me and a stubborn jar of pickles I couldn't open. And when I finally got it open, I actually said, "You still got it, Carl," and gave myself a little nod. Like I was on season 4 of some long-running series called Living Solo with Style. It sneaks up on you. One day you're muttering to yourself, and the next you're throwing out one-liners like you've got a live audience. You stub your toe and go, "And that's why we wear slippers, genius." You open the fridge, see the same casserole for the 3rd day in a row and say, "Ah yes, the gift that keeps on giving." You lose your reading glasses and shout, "Plot twist! They were on your head the whole time." But it's more than just little mutters. It becomes conversation. You start responding to yourself. You do voices. You mimic your old boss or your cousin with the thick Brooklyn accent. I've caught myself narrating laundry like it's a sporting event. "And he reaches for the unmatched sock. Oh no, heartbreak, it's another single. A friend of mine, 72, lives alone, told me he gives himself pep talks in the mirror every morning. 'All right, Roger,' he says, pointing at his reflection. 'Let's go win the day. Or at least not trip over the cat.' It might sound a bit odd to someone else, but for us, it's one of the unexpected joys of living solo. You don't feel like a recluse. You feel like the main character. You've lived enough life to have stories, timing, and some pretty great lines. So why keep it all bottled up? Here's the truth. Talking to yourself doesn't mean you're losing it. It means you've become your own best company. Your voice fills the silence. Your wit keeps you smiling. And those little one-liners? They're not signs of loneliness. They're signs of life. So if you find yourself narrating your trip to the kitchen like you're on season 6 of your own sitcom, don't worry. You're not weird. You're just finally giving yourself the spotlight you've earned. 5. Becoming emotionally attached to furniture. It starts innocent. You get a new chair, nothing fancy. Maybe you even picked it up used, a Facebook Marketplace find or an estate sale treasure. You bring it home, plop it near a window, throw a blanket over the back, and that's that. But give it time. Weeks go by, and suddenly that chair isn't just where you sit. It's where you go when you need to think, rest, breathe, cry, or just disappear from the world for a while. I've got a chair like that. Dark green, slightly frayed on the armrest, with a squeaky left leg that moans every time I sit down like it's trying to say, "Back again, huh?" And I always reply, "You know it, old friend." That chair has heard me laugh out loud at books, doze off mid-sentence, and contemplate everything from lost love to whether I should grow tomatoes next spring. It's seen more of my life than most people have. It's the one place in the house that truly feels like mine, not just to sit, but to be. One gentleman said he had an old couch he'd had since the 1980s. He knew it was ugly. He knew it sagged. His kids begged him to replace it, but he wouldn't. He said, "It's held me up through divorce, retirement, and 3 surgeries. That couch knows me better than anyone." That's the thing. Furniture, when you live alone, becomes more than function. It becomes familiar, a source of stability, of identity. Your favorite lamp isn't just a light. It's a companion for those quiet evenings when you're flipping through memories instead of TV channels. One woman wrote about her coffee table, a dented little thing with water rings and chipped corners. "That table held every Thanksgiving meal I made by myself," she said. "It's part of my history now." It may sound strange to someone who's never lived alone, but you get it. That recliner? That's where you survived grief. That worn kitchen stool? That's where you danced with a grandchild to an old Willie Nelson song. That wobbly bookshelf? It held your whole world when no one else was around. These things don't just fill space, they carry weight. They hold time, and eventually, they hold you too. 6. Making friends with inanimate objects and giving them names. Now here's where things get a little eccentric and a lot more fun. Because after enough time living alone, you don't just get attached to your things. You start giving them names and personalities and entire backstories if you're feeling extra creative that day. Let me confess something. My microwave's name is Margie. She's moody. Sometimes she warms my tea just right. Other days she acts up and leaves the center cold, and I say, "Really, Margie? After all we've been through?" The kettle? That's Steve. Always reliable, slightly overachieving. I think he's trying to impress Margie. It started as a joke. I talked to the toaster, the fridge, the washing machine. But over time, those moments stopped being silly and started being endearing. When you live alone, these little interactions become a kind of rhythm. They fill the space with something familiar, something playful, something human. One lady online said she named her vacuum Harold. She says things like, "All right, Harold, let's suck up the sins of the weekend." Another gentleman shared that his TV remote is called Commander. He even salutes it when he finds it after losing it for the 10th time. There's no shame in it. In fact, I think it shows resilience, creativity even. We've lived full lives surrounded by people, noise, responsibility. And now, in the quiet, we create a bit of our own company. We animate the inanimate. We make a home feel alive. I remember reading about a widower who had an old radio he named Judy, after his wife. He said every morning he turned Judy on, sat beside her, and let her play him the music they used to dance to. That radio wasn't just an appliance, it was a connection. And look, it doesn't matter if it's quirky, it doesn't matter if no one else gets it. What matters is that it brings you a moment of comfort. A chuckle. A sense of presence in an otherwise empty room. These small, odd rituals, talking to your couch, naming your blender, arguing with the fan like it's being passive-aggressive, they're ours. They're what make living alone not just bearable, but beautifully human. So if you've got a lamp named Larry or you high-five your coat rack every morning just because, know this. You're not alone in doing that. In fact, you're in good company, your own, and maybe a few colorful characters you've created along the way. 7. Wearing the same lucky shirt for way too many days in a row. You know how in the movies the old guy always has a signature look? Like Clint Eastwood has that same dusty jacket and Morgan Freeman has the same kind of wise sweater in every scene. Well, let me tell you, that's real. And it starts with the lucky shirt. I've got mine. It's this faded blue flannel button-up, soft as a whisper, with one pocket hanging just a little crooked, probably from years of stuffing reading glasses and pens and receipts I never bothered to throw away. I call it Old Reliable. Now here's the thing. It started as a lazy day shirt. You know, I'm just running to the mailbox kind of thing. Then I wore it while cooking and didn't spill a thing, which at my age feels like winning an Olympic medal. Next day, I wore it while balancing my checkbook, and I actually found an extra $27 I forgot I had. That's when I realized, this shirt is magic. After that, well, let's just say I wore it a few more days, then a few more. I lost track after day 5, maybe 7. Who's counting? Now before you get the wrong idea, it does get washed. Occasionally. But there's a funny moment when you're standing in the laundry room, shirt in hand, asking yourself, is today really the day I break the streak? Because the truth is, when you live alone, nobody's raising an eyebrow. No one's asking, didn't you wear that yesterday? Nope. It's just you and your lucky flannel. Or, as one guy once said, if the shirt isn't complaining, neither am I. It becomes more than clothing. It's a companion, a second skin. A symbol of the fact that you've earned the right to do things your way. If it's comfortable, if it brings peace, if it somehow holds the magic for a good day, then by all means wear it again. Heck, I think if people wore their lucky clothes more often, the world might be a happier place. 8. Creating daily events out of the smallest tasks. Let me tell you something that no one tells you about growing older and living alone. The little things start to matter a whole lot more. Not because you're bored, but because you finally start to notice them. You begin turning ordinary moments into events. Like making tea in the morning? That's not just tea. That's Carl's morning tea ceremony. I put the kettle on, open the blinds just enough for that soft light to spill in, and play some old jazz from the kitchen radio. It's a full production. If someone peeked through the window, they'd think I was prepping for a cooking show on PBS. Laundry day becomes Textile Therapy Thursday. It doesn't have to be Thursday, by the way. That's just what I call it. I light a candle, sort socks like they're ancient artifacts, and fold towels like I'm competing in a hotel housekeeping Olympics. Even trimming the hedge becomes a project. Not a chore. A project. I walk around the bush twice. Ponder the symmetry. Stand back with my hands on my hips like an artist surveying a sculpture. Then I snip one branch and take a 5-minute break because, well, I've earned it. I know a woman who said she turns grocery shopping into Friday market day. She dresses up a little, makes a list on fancy stationery, and treats herself to a pastry on the way home. And why not? That trip to the store is her social event. She says hello to the cashier, flirts a little with the guy at the meat counter, and smiles at strangers just because she can. That's what living alone does. It teaches you to stop rushing through life and start inhabiting the small stuff. You're not trying to beat the clock anymore. You are the clock, so you slow it all down. You stretch things out. You add music, light a candle, put your favorite shirt on, just because. And here's the beautiful part. When you treat the small moments with reverence, they start feeling big. You realize life isn't in the grand gestures. It's not in the parties or vacations or milestones. It's in the little daily rituals that, stacked one on top of the other, form a life of quiet joy. So yeah, I may get a little excited about folding my dish towels or boiling eggs just right. But don't laugh. That kind of simple satisfaction, that's the kind of peace folks chase their whole lives. And wouldn't you know it? I felt all that joy wearing the same lucky shirt for the 8th day in a row. 9. Talking back to the TV and winning the argument. Now, I don't know exactly when it started, but one evening I was watching a courtroom show. One of those afternoon reruns where people argue over a busted fence or a pet that allegedly bit someone's cousin. And the guy on screen started lying. I knew he was lying. You could see it in his eyes. I sat up in my chair, pointed a spoon at the screen, and said, "Judge, he's full of beans. Check the neighbor's testimony. It doesn't match." And just like that, I was in it. Fully invested, like I had a seat at the bench. The judge finally made her ruling. Exactly what I said it should be. And I leaned back, proud as anything. "That's right," I muttered. "Should have hired me to settle this mess." And here's the thing. It didn't feel weird. It felt satisfying. When you live alone, the TV becomes more than background noise. It becomes part of your world. You talk to it like it's listening, like you're having an actual debate. You shout during the news. You shake your head during political interviews. You holler at game show contestants who can't remember what country Napoleon came from. "I said France! I've said it 3 times already!" Or the classic, "You're gonna pick the mystery box. Are you trying to lose?" Sometimes I even talk to the commercials. Like when a shampoo ad claims their product will make you look 10 years younger. I lean in and say, "Honey, if that bottle could erase 1982, I'd have bathed in it by now." But you know what's funny? You win these arguments. You're smarter than the weatherman who keeps predicting sunshine when it's pouring outside. You solve the murder mystery before the final act. You get all the Jeopardy questions right. Or at least enough of them to convince yourself you'd crush it if you ever went on the show. You become the co-host of every show you watch. And in the silence of your living room, you realize your commentary is better than half the dialogue anyway. So maybe we talk to ourselves a little more these days. Maybe we invent strange little house rules like no snacks after sunset unless it's chocolate. Maybe we argue with the TV. form friendships with furniture, and turn making tea into a daily event that rivals the Queen's schedule. But here's the thing. Living alone in old age doesn't mean being lonely. It means discovering how funny, smart, imaginative, and downright resourceful you really are when no one's watching. It means realizing that your company? It's actually pretty darn good. So whether you're out here naming your vacuum Vince, assigning moods to lamps, or wearing your lucky flannel for the 3rd week in a row, keep doing you. And hey, if this video made you smile, nod, or feel seen in some small way, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below and tell me your quirkiest solo habit. I know you've got one. And don't forget to subscribe for more real talk, real laughs, and real stories from the solo lane of life. Take care of yourself, and tell your toaster I said hi.